Can you refer to my budget speech? No, this is not the clean copy. Where's the clean copy? Give me a clean copy. Yeah, give me from screen, sorry. Give me a clean copy and refer to the Cut 95. Because that was also the same issue that was raised. I think you look at my budget speech, you are clear about the requirements, isn't it? So what are you asking about? That's why I have to repeat my budget speech for you.
Yeah, on that also, is this how is this?
No, but if you don't understand the qualifications, how am I going to answer your question? So I don't know what is your question.
Mungkin dari segi mekanisme pelaksanaan kat 95 itu memang 1600cc sebagai 1.6cc sebagainya, tapi mekanisme pelaksanaan itu bagaimana selepas
itu akan dilaksanakan tahun depan.
Ya.
So lepas itu penerangan akan diberikan. Kita berikan apa itu secara dasar, dan dari segi pelaksanaan itu tentu akan diumumkan kemudian. Tapi penting untuk saya uraikan semula apakah syarat-syarat ini supaya rakyat faham. Kerana sekiranya pemberita yang ada akses secara langsung kurang faham, so saya rasa kena ulangilah supaya semua boleh faham dengan lebih mendalam. Where's even your this thing is here.
Sorry, so is this also on top of the domestic minister's petrol subsidy scheme as a pay cash?
I'll just announce it. I think in my budget dalam Belanjawan 2020 semalam, saya telah menyatakan bahawa program subsidi petrol bersasar adalah kepada setiap rakyat yang memiliki tidak melebihi 2 kereta dan 2 motosikal yang layak. Di mana syarat ini jelas. Kereta dengan kapasiti enjin 1600cc ke bawah dan motosikal dengan kapasiti enjin sehingga 150cc. Sekiranya kereta dengan kapasiti enjin lebih daripada 1600cc boleh dengan syarat ia lebihi 10 tahun. Motosikal boleh melebihi 150cc sekiranya melebihi 7 tahun. Dan untuk itu BHSH tentu mereka akan dapat wang tunai seperti yang disebutkan semalam dan diterima setiap 4 bulan. Bagi mereka yang bukan daripada golongan BHSH, mereka akan menerima kad 95 di mana ia hanya akan dilaksanakan secara peringkat pada suku pertama. So that one will be bulan Mac lah. So ini kita akan buat, ini juga sama seperti itu digital stimulus di mana kita akan galakkan e-wallet, e-dompet lah, dan akan dimasukkan dalam itu e-dompet sebanyak RM30 yang mesti dibelanja sebelum 29 hari bulan Februari. So lepas itu kita harap dalam bulan Mac, kalau boleh lah, kalau tidak lewat ni bulan April, Cut 95 akan dikeluarkan kepada mereka yang bukan daripada golongan B40 untuk menikmati subsidi petrol bersasar. Ya, sila.
Sarawak State Government said they are not happy with the allocation in the budget, saying that it's insufficient for this year.
Tapi mereka selalu akan cakap tak puas hati. Sungguhpun kita telah menampakkan 100% itu grant khas untuk negeri Sarawak. Memang mereka akan sungguh pun tambah, mereka masih tidak akan puas hati, susah untuk memuaskan hati mereka.
Just 70% out of the total allocation in the budget.
Sekali lagi?
Just 70% out of the total budget.
17%?
Yes, they say that 4.4 million is so little compared to the revenue.
Yeah, but they are the second highest state. Sabah nombor 1, Sarawak nombor 2. Sekiranya sebut bahawa nombor 2 pun tak puas hati, macam ini 11 buah negeri lain pun tak puas hati. So saya rasa itu menunjukkan bahawa pihak kerajaan persekutuan kita memberikan keutamaan kepada Sabah dan Sarawak, di mana Sabah dan Sarawak mendapat peruntukan nombor 1 dan nombor 2. Saya harap mereka boleh bertimbang rasa sebagai sebahagian daripada kerajaan persekutuan bahawa memang mereka dapat yang tidak pernah diberikan sebelum ini oleh kerajaan lama. Sekiranya di bawah kerajaan lama mereka boleh berpuas hati, sungguh pun mereka dapat kurang. Apabila sekarang mereka dapat lebih, mengapa tidak berpuas hati lagi? So itu yang saya kurang faham. Semasa di bawah kerajaan lama mereka dapat kurang. Seperti yang saya sebut semalam, semakan tidak dibuat sejak 69. Kita buat semakan, kita tambahkan sekali ganda 100%. Itu pun tak puas hati. Tapi kalau tak tambah, puas hati. Macam ini, adakah nak minta saya jangan tambah baru puas hati? Okay, yes.
So, just want to get a sense of your budget allocation this time around is way lower than the previous years. Yet you are covering more things.
No, it's not lower. It's higher.
The budget allocation the last year was 300.
No, because you must take account the special dividend by Petronas to pay back GST. So this is a one-off dividend to pay back the refunds that the previous government held back for their own use without the permission of the taxpayers. So if you take out the 30 billion, it's actually 279. So 279 last year, last year's budget lah. Next year's budget is 297. So there's an increase of around 18 billion. Jadi 7%. So ini adalah satu tambahan. Bukanlah satu pengurangan. Kerana kalau kita keluarkan itu dividen khas Petronas untuk membayar balik refund GST, sebenarnya belanjawan adalah 279 bilion. Jangan kita buat double counting.
And the wider deficit of 3.4%, is that something that we should
3.2.
Sorry, that's 3.2%. Is something that we should be worried about?
No, when you talk about the current economic uncertainties globally, we need to have an expansionary budget. So we will need to, of course, not only convince but reassure investors that we are still on the right track in terms of fiscal consolidation. And so far the response by both the World Bank and even Moody's has been positive. So we are cautiously optimistic that we will be able to convince, I think, not just foreign investors, fund managers, but also ratings agencies that this is necessary in order to ensure sustainable economic growth, so that we can not only improve the revenues that we have received and succeed in our fiscal consolidation as planned, which would put us back on track in 3 years. That is by 2021.
Matching grant has been further slashed to 1 million only this year, and the last year it was very much slashed. So retired owners are actually crying political vendetta. What do you have?
Do you happen to be from the Star? So I understand that you are being required to ask this question. Nothing against you, I understand. Your bosses probably ask you to ask this question. I already said this before. And I think Tun has also made it very clear. Public funds should be separate from politics. I think your paper is owned by a political party, and that gives rise to many questions of political control over the media, which I'm sure you, as a very passionate and very professional journalist, also find this uncomfortable. I'm talking in terms of advocate of press freedom. This is wrong. How can political parties control newspapers like the Star, or whether it's like Utusan or other papers? This is wrong. So similarly, when you talk about educational institutions, if political control of media companies is wrong, political control of institutions also is wrong. But we are not going to stop you from running your education institutions. But how can public funds be used to support a politically controlled organization? And this is made very clear by the Prime Minister also, and he agrees that we should keep politics and education separate. Now, can I finish first? Then I have said before that if MCA relinquishes its control over KETA, the government will immediately reinstate the funding, which is 30 million this year and 30 million next year. But the problem is that they do not want to relinquish their political control. And you know what happened on Kojadi? Again, Kojadi was funded by the previous government. And they were involved in 1MDB. I think you are very familiar with 1MDB. They were involved with 1MDB. So when funding was given to Kojadi, controlled by MCA, they refused to return back the money, even though a directive was issued by SPRM. And as a result, when the chairman of Kojadi wanted to return the funds, the board refused and the chairman was sacked. So when you look at this type of situation, you give funding to a politically controlled organization. There are issues of propriety involved. And that's why we have instead channeled it to BSN, no longer to Kojadi. If we can channel these funds to BSN and not to Kojadi, why should we be channeling funds to a politically controlled institution? MCA, please relinquish control of KETA. The funds will be restored, not just for next year, but also for this year.
So would you be recognizing because UTA is actually one of the best performing private universities. So would this be, at the expense of waiting?
No, maybe you can also ask a question. You can also ask the question, why is it so difficult for MCA to relinquish control? Can you answer that question? I'm asking you that question. You work for MCA paper. Yeah, why is it so difficult for MCA to relinquish control and allow fundings to be restored on the basis that this is an educational institution, separate from politics? Because where are we going to start? Where are we going to build up our institutions so that they can be independent and that they can be run professionally? And you look at what happened to Kojadi. Oh, they say it's run professionally. But when the chairman wants to run it professionally, he gets sacked. So the whole fundamental question is not resolved. There should be separation between politics and education, politics and public funding. Do you agree with me that public funding should not be used to finance political controlled institutions? Do you agree with me or not? I'm sure you agree that. You nod your head. Yes, you agree. So I think that answers the question.
Maybe another question.
Yes.
What you call the cut to from 1 million to 600,000 for foreign ownership to solve the property overhang. Is this would that be a clause where they would have to stay in those homes or can they just buy?
No, actually, when you talk about the condominiums and apartments, this is not only for condominiums and apartments, not for landed property. Landed property is still the same. There's a supply overhang of around 8.3 billion ringgit. Why is there a supply overhang? There's a supply overhang because locals, Malaysians do not want to buy. That's why there is a supply overhang. So if they do not wish to buy and the property is still left unsold, if foreigners want to buy, why not? That will be able to inject money back into the local economy. So there are those who say, oh, you are preventing locals from buying. No. Because if locals buy, there will be no supply overhang. And we are talking about apartments and condominiums. 600,000. For those, for 500,000, the government is giving a lot of incentives. So that's why we said that it must be over 500,000. That's why it was put at 600,000. And you can clear the supply overhang, then you can get the money, inject it back to local economy, which will help with its multiplier effects. You will help, I think, Malaysians.
Would that cause an artificial inflation in prices?
We're talking about the present property supply overhang. This is the present situation. This is not something in future. So if we can clear that present supply overhang, I think this will, as I said, help to inject more funds and allow Malaysia to also benefit, because they are not sold anyway.
Just to be clear, this only applies for properties that are not sold for a certain period of time.
No, it applies for properties which are still not sold.
On the Plus Highway, right, in your speech you mentioned that the Khazanah Nasional is talking about items expiring or disposing the stocks, and then you will give the 18% discount. This is before or after the so-called...
No, I think the minimum for any acquisition or disposal must fulfill the conditions that, number one, there will be a minimum 18% on average reduction in the present total charges. Okay, number two, it must be fiscal positive, in a sense that it must not increase our debt load or increase our government's debts burden, and also not increase the government's debt servicing charges.
So regardless of whether it's acquired by another company,
Yes. It must fulfill these conditions. And then also, as I mentioned just now, do not increase the government's debt burden or the government's debt servicing charges.
Why be the TVETs?
No, that's further to the toll one. Actually, I asked you this a couple of weeks ago about the intracity one.
Sorry?
The intracity tolls, the Gamuda one.
No, similarly, it's also stated in my budget speech.
Yeah, it's still a thing by 1st January.
No, it's stated in my budget speech. Please refer to my budget speech.
Why be the 5.9 billion TVET allocation? The National TVET Movement is saying that it's not enough in line with the fact that there are already 500 in the public sector itself, 500 institutes in the public sector itself. So there's too many, and 5.9 billion if you take.
So you're asking for consolidation.
They're asking for more.
No, asking for, well, of course, everyone will ask for more, but the fact is that we have increased. And at the same time, I think they probably need to look at how we can ensure that students get this training using the latest equipment. So I think if we reorient TVET by getting students to learn in the factories instead of buying expensive equipment, I think there will be a lot of savings to be made. But I think despite that, we have still increased the allocation for TVET. And do not forget that we will also be providing 100 ringgit to the TVET apprentices. That is not part of the extra 200 million ringgit.
The digital tax that you are starting in January.
Come again?
Digital tax, the 6% digital tax.
Yes.
And then at the same time, you are trying to get more SMEs to digitize. This is sort of like contributing.
This for services.
Yeah.
Where SMEs, you are talking about products.
Yeah,
this
but
is for
would
services.
This would help increase the cost of doing business.
I don't understand. How can it help increase the cost of doing business?
Those who are paying digital tax might pass it on to the end users.
No, but you're doing products. It's not services. This one is digital tax on services
Correct.
that you sell to the consumer.
Correct, which means SMEs who want to use these services.
No, but if they already digitalize the operations, how does that come in? When I talk about digitalizing businesses, that means their operations are being digitalized, not using digital services. So if they use digital services, it depends on what type of services. I think it's stated in the I think the tax, what do you call that, the tax reports.
Could you elaborate on the hiring of jobless graduates after a year where you give an incentive to the employers, 300 ringgit per graduate for the next 2 years? On what criteria is that? And then the graduate itself gets a 500 ringgit incentive.
No, I think the purpose of the government is to try to create more jobs for those who are unemployed, especially the unemployed graduates. I think we got a problem. I think we face up to this issue. We got a problem with graduates who are unemployed, and we try to resolve that. I mean, it is a waste of government resources. After spending so many years in universities, they are still unable to secure a job. So we want to provide them with that opportunity. And to do that, we have come up with this scheme where we incentivize not just the unemployed graduates or unemployed workers, but also employers to employ these workers, these Malaysian workers, graduates or non-graduates. And of course, as a start, we know that employers cannot pay so high. But if you pay too low, it's very difficult to motivate Malaysian workers to work. So we try to bridge that gap, incentivize employers to employ them, at the same time incentivize the Malaysian workers, the motivation, by giving them the necessary motivation to work. So we think that this solution would help to create altogether 350,000 jobs. Now, to make this happen, we also realize there are limitations of what the government can do. We are not experts in these areas. That's why we are entrusting KWSP, EPF, in order to set out the mechanism and also to implement them so that we can get employers and these unemployed, whether graduates or non-graduates, a job that they can not only feed themselves, feed their families. So I think the details and the mechanisms will be announced in due course by KWSP.
Would this encourage them to search for a job after 1 year?
Can we wait until that mechanism is announced so that the questions that you are raising will be addressed?
When will be the mechanism announced?
This will be announced by KWSP in due course. It's only the second day after the budget, so please give us some time. You know, we have worked so hard. My team has worked so hard over the last several months. So we have to outline the policies. Well, of course, the hard work begins from here in terms of setting up the mechanism and implementing it. At the end of the day, it's all about execution. Success depends not on planning but on execution. And we are aware of that. That's why we appoint a specialist agency like KWSP or EPF to handle this. And bear in mind that there will be some teething problems, but we are cautiously optimistic that we can provide a useful and remunerative job to Malaysians. 350,000 over 5 years.
Actually, before you finish, just share with us the kind of challenges and the kind of consideration that you had to go through in the past few months just to come up with what you had yesterday.
Yeah, from you all lah. Yeah. We always know that people are impatient. They want to see results immediately. But at the same time, you must have the proper planning. And we have been actually discussing these new measures for the last 6 months. So we spend many hours deliberating on it, especially the workfare program, the incentives to local businesses to encourage them to export, the incentives to Fortune 500 and unicorns, global unicorns to invest in Malaysia, as well as to encourage Malaysian companies to digitalize. Not just companies, but also ordinary people. That's why we are carrying out this e-wallet, this digital stimulus, so that we can encourage hopefully 15 Malaysians to digitalize, to be part of this e-wallet program has a first step towards a cashless society. Okay? So you no more questions about Utah again, apart from the star? I'm sure that some of the Chinese papers who wanted to ask me, you all seem to be more interested in what the other side says than what we are saying. I repeat again, just relinquish control, the funding will be restored. Why are you so selfish not to relinquish control and deny Utah 60 million ringgit?
What do you say, just one last question, what do you say to the fact that slashing the matching grant for Utah victimizes the pay?
No, but so the question is, are you going to stand firm on separating politics from public funding? Just as you say, you think that you say the star is running well, we get our salary. But is this right? we agree that political parties should control media companies? No, the answer is no. You yourself will say is no, even though you're working for a Star. And as a principal reporter, I'm sure you'll tell your bosses no. Of course, you still got to work there, but you say no, because this is wrong. Media control is not compatible with press freedom. So similarly, what is good for the goose is also good for the gander. Similarly, in terms of public funding, it is even more critical that political parties should not receive funding, public funding. I mean, if that is the case, then we all will be using public funds for our own political benefit. That is wrong. So you must draw the line. And if in the process, in order to make this very clear, they try to make themselves as a victim when they are actually the culprits. Relinquish control of KETA, the funding will be restored immediately. What is so difficult about that? UMNO doesn't have any institution, they don't complain. MIC, they don't have this type of institution, they don't complain. But only one is MCA and they're complaining, as if they are the victim. Relinquish control, then the students will not lose out. But why is it so difficult for you to relinquish control? There are only, I think, how much? How many people? 10. Why should 10 trustees be more important than the thousands of students? Just relinquish control, let go. Your time is up, your time is over. Let go. Let it be run not by the government, not by any political party, but by the former students of UTA, professionals, as an educational institution. If we cannot make this clear, if we cannot stand firm of this principle, then what is the point of being a new government that wants to carry out reforms? I say this in my speech. What does a new Malaysia means? A new Malaysia means that a Malaysian that can have adequate health care, can have a useful and remunerative job, can have a decent life, can have human dignity with respect, and of course, your basic rights. And also free from fear. Free from monopolies and free from, unfair practices. So who is being unfair here? If they relinquish control, funding will be restored. Just as like other institutions, they don't have political control, they get funding. Why is MCA so special? Are they a sacred cow? Just because they own so many enterprises, because they own so many newspapers. I don't know whether they own some Chinese newspapers also, but definitely they own the Star. And because of that, they can make claims that no one is able to enjoy that. Is that fair? So I hope that these 10 trustees should let go. All right? Thank you.
Sorry,
Take a photo.
everyone?
Yeah.
Can have a group photo?